Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Our goals here, every time we get together with this gentleman and potentially a guest, it's all about safety. Safety on the roads, especially when it comes to large vehicles, tankers, motor carriers. He is somebody that helps to make sure that these vehicles are safe, works with those companies that dispatch the vehicles. His company is called DOT Training Solutions. He's Matt Freeman. He's back with us. Hey, Matt, how you doing today?
Hey, doing great again. It's I almost said it's Monday. It's Tuesday. So,
Don't go back. Don't go back.
right. We want to go forward here. No, it's doing really well. Looking forward to the show today and see what we can do here.
Yeah, this is a look at what happens in terms of safety from the eyes of law enforcement. And that is somebody that you guys work together. He is somebody that is a retired lieutenant from the Kansas State Highway Patrol. He's worked in the commercial vehicle division, conducted enforcement, roadside inspections. I'm sure he's pulled over a few vehicles from time to time over the years. And he joins us. He is Rex Railsback. Hey, Rex, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much.
That name is like a character out of a movie. Rex Railsback. like you never want to get pulled over by Rex with that name.
Hey, well, if you knew my middle name, it'd really be a good character.
Up to you if you want to share.
Well, Conrad.
Conrad. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The entire name just screams of authority right there.
Well, you got to think Rex is king in Latin, right? And then Conrad means wise ruler. So
wow. But yet then you pair it with Railsback, which
exactly.
is a strong name in itself. Let's look at your job when you were doing enforcement as a lieutenant, highway patrol. Were you in the capacity in a vehicle where if you saw something, you would pull that vehicle over?
Yes, I was. For 28 and a half years, I had a patrol vehicle I was issued to. I may not have always been on the streets and highways. A lot of office work, especially when you're a supervisor. But as you move forward, you're always going to and from someplace. And whenever you're in the car, you always have to take effective enforcement action when it's needed.
The enforcement aspect would be any vehicle, I would assume. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Where did you pivot over to working on the safety aspect of these larger commercial carriers?
Well, clear back in 1993, October 93, I was first certified to do roadside inspections. And I learned early on, after 6.5 years of working the road, which was basically nights, weekends, holidays, and all that fun stuff, that the commercial vehicle enforcement side was basically Monday through Friday, daytime hours for the Kansas Highway Patrol units. And the drivers of commercial vehicles, the professional drivers of commercial vehicles knew I was there doing a job. I knew he had a job, and I wasn't interrupting somebody's daily livelihood in a passenger car, stuff like that. So it's just a little bit more easier, so to speak. And I'm a Weisenheimer, so I can be a little bit more smart alecky to truck drivers, and they would take it in stride, so to speak, to where you do that to a passenger vehicle driver, John Q. citizen. They're not as their mindset's not there when they get pulled over.
I get it. Your mind is going everywhere. You're worried about what else is going to be found, if anything is, even if the vehicle is recently inspected, everything is up to speed. You never know, and you don't want to be presented with that. Let's look at some of the roadside stops that you made for these large commercial vehicles. Let's go with the radical side. What is the most either unusual or really truly radical thing that you found that you couldn't believe this vehicle was still on the road, and I guess maybe action had to be taken?
Well, yeah, there were several vehicles over the years that were extreme imminent hazards, so to speak, and needed to be placed out of service. One I didn't inspect. Is just I pulled him over for a routine inspection, and when I stepped up on the running board and introduced myself to the driver, there is a nice pet snake looking at me from the windshield dash. So I'm like, basically, I didn't want to deal with that. So I said, have a nice day, be safe, and drive on. So I didn't want to deal with the truck because doing inspections, you have to do inside the cab inspections as well when you're looking for passenger restraints and sleeper berth restraints and stuff. So it was just kind of one of those things where I said, no, I'm just going to let this one go because I'm not a fan of snakes.
That's a story I never heard, Rex.
Wow. Wow. And then you never know what you're going to find. All right. So there was a snake. If he contained the snake, oh, I forgot to tell you, I have a pet scorpion.
Yeah, yeah, or tarantula or whatever, and
Yeah.
the yippy dogs I could deal with,
Mm,
Um, but
wow.
I've had, semi-trailers or trucks with cracked frame rails. I had one truck that only had one effective brake out of, 10 effective brakes. Out of 10 wheel ends, he only had one effective brake, so I don't know how he even stopped.
Mm.
Um, I had another truck. It wasn't a truck tractor semi-trailer, but it was a truck and trailer contractor. And my light had turned green, and here comes this truck, squealing his brakes, but his trailer was pushing him through the intersection on a red light. So his trailer was overweight and his trailer had ineffective brakes. And that was just, if everybody had taken off right when that light was green, somebody would have had a crash, and it could have been not the best of things.
Wow. Do you find over the years of doing these inspections that for the most part, vehicles, motor carrier companies comply, or are you surprised that you're always going to find something? There's something there.
No, I mean, believe it or not, the vast majority of the industry is interested in safety. Just like any profession, you have your lower 10% that is there, and they say they got to keep moving to make money, got to keep moving to make money, even though they don't realize that violations cost money. And in today's litigious society, the nuclear verdicts out there are just astronomical anymore. So it's more cost effective to comply with all the safety regulations than it is to try and skirt around them. So
Mm,
one of my things I used to do is patrol the areas where vehicles would be known to be going around scale houses, port of entries, to where they're trying to avoid inspections. Yet there I am, to find them and to have fun and inspect their vehicle.
wow. Matt, do you have any questions along the way here?
No, just some of the stories here. This is all the things we've talked about these last several weeks working together, and what to expect. We never really went into what to expect during a roadside inspection.
Mm,
We've gone into detail on what we do, how the inspection takes place. We're either talking to the driver, we're looking at the driver and the vehicle and the trailer. Where Rex has, firsthand, where I didn't do the roadside, because I wasn't pulling people over, but I was stopping people at scale houses and internally. One thing that Rex did, he actually pulled folks over, led them to a safe location to do the inspection. Some of those procedures that not everybody understands and knows why they do what they do. And I'm thinking that's why with Rex, he can kind of give an idea a day in, day out of stopping, from the beginning to end, a big rig on the side of the road.
let's look at a typical stop. We don't have video, we can't see it in that way. But when you pull a vehicle over, or if you want to approach it from a just an inspection area where the vehicles just normally have to pull off to be inspected and move on. Walk us through the process. What takes place? What do you look at first? Is it first compliance with registration and things like that, or do you go right to brakes and things like that?
Well, for the roadside side of it, a lot of times the vehicle inspection takes place first. And in Kansas, in like the majority of the US, probable cause is not needed to stop a commercial motor vehicle for inspection. There are about 6 states that require a reason to stop, but Kansas is one of those states that does not. So almost always I would have a reason to stop, because there's a lot of things you can see as enforcement that call attention to that vehicle, like cargo securement. Well, if it appears to be short on cargo securement, well, hey, that's a reason to stop. And inoperative light is a reason to stop. Registration plates that aren't visible, stuff like that. So once you decide to stop the vehicle, once you see the vehicle, that's when the inspection starts, and you activate it and get them pulled over. And hopefully the driver is aware enough to where you're not following him for 5 miles trying to get him to stop. I've done that. I've straddled the line so he can clearly see my lights in his mirror and stuff like that. And I generally go up once he does stop. I go up to the driver and I point to his mirror and I say, "How often does the CDL handbook say you should look in this mirror?" "Huh? I've been behind you for 5 miles. The CDL handbook says you should look in this mirror at least every 5 to 7 seconds." So, it's things like that. Once I get them stopped, I like to break the ice. I ask the driver, "Hey, do you mind if I open your door?" And what do you think a driver would always say? "Yes." I said, "Well, do you want me to open your door or not?" I asked if you mind. You said, "Yes, you mind. So can I open your door?" "Oh, go ahead." So,
Well, I think it's the processing of the question. They're meaning to say, yeah, you can open the door, but do you mind is stated another way. Before we continue on this stop,
that breaks the ice. That's why, because that breaks the ice and they understand that I'm not, a hard-nosed person, so to speak.
well,
They-
with that question, you would just raise my blood pressure about 50 points at that. When you have to have probable cause, and this is a peeling back the layers here on this question. Is it reasonable to think that you can always find a reason to pull a vehicle over, even if the law states there needs to be probable cause? Can you always pretty much find something?
Yes. It is. There's not a single driver out there that follows the rules of the roads 100%. I guarantee it. I don't. Matt doesn't. I guarantee you don't. When I used to work the road as a regular road trooper before I started inspecting, I'd pull people over for speeding, and I'd write them the ticket and everything, and they'd go into court and they'd fight it. Well, they would say, "Judge, I was only doing 65 and a 55, not 75 like the trooper says." And what did they just do in court? They admitted to speeding. And the judge will say, "Speeding. The amount over just determines the amount of the fine. Since you admitted to 65, I'll reduce your fine to 65. So that's that.
Right.
Just things like that. So
I don't know if you guys heard this. It literally came out yesterday, but cops in Minnesota are no longer allowed to ask, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And the idea is to stop people from, and I'm bringing this up to your point right here, stop people from
self-incrimination.
exactly right. So they keep the, keep the questioning to more formal interrogations. But that's a loaded question in itself. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" So, it's you're damned if you do or not. "No, I don't know." "Well, you should know because you were doing, 50 miles over the speed limit." All right, we digress. Back
You're
to the
fine.
traffic. You just asked if I would mind
So then depending on where I'm at on the roadway, there's some roads, we would do saturation enforcement in rural Kansas. There's some roads I could stay on the road and safely do a complete level 1 inspection, 45 minutes to an hour, because nobody's going to pass me in that time frame. But yet, majority of my career was the Kansas City metropolitan area, greater Kansas City metropolitan area. So I'm in a metro area. So once I stop them, I move them to an off ramp, and then go ahead, and depending on where they're going, I'll move them on over to the on ramp, because on ramp everyone's on a slower speed because they're just getting started. Toward the off ramp, they're coming off of highway speeds to slow speeds. So it's almost always safer to pull them to the on ramp. And that's where I would do a lot of inspections, unless I knew of a truck parking area, truck stop, or scale house note close by. Then I could check them. But I would get them off the highway to do so I could do a safer location to inspect.
Gotcha. So you just asked me if I would mind if you opened my door. I said yes, because I want to comply. And I said, "Yeah, sure, do whatever." Where do we go from there?
Then I always tell the driver, once I get them to a safe location and everything, then I'm going to chalk the wheels, because I'm going to do a full inspection. So I'll chalk the wheels and I'll have them release the air brakes. So both park brakes are released, the wheels are chalked. And then I'll start at the front of the truck. I'll say, "I'm going to start at the front of the truck. I need you to follow my hand signals as I go around the truck. And then I'll start at the front of the truck, check all the lights, mirrors, horn, stuff like that. And then I'll go down the left side of the truck. Because if I'm even on an on-ramp, if I'm going down the left side of the truck, I get to see when someone's going to try and hit me instead of be surprised. Because if I start going down the right side of the truck, my back's to traffic as I go back up the left side. So if I start down the left side, I'm facing traffic as I go around the truck. And then when my back's to traffic, I'm on the right side. So we always advocate going down the left side first. And then after the front's done, then we start on the left side, do the left front, wheels, rims, and tires. Then you do the saddle tank area. Then you do in between the truck and tractor and trailer where you look at airlines. You move on to the drive tandems where you look at wheels, rims, and tires. You look at the fifth wheel assembly. You duck underneath to look at the back of the tractor lighting and stuff like that. Then you move on down the trailer. If it's a flatbed trailer, you're looking at load securement at the same time. You get to the back of the trailer, you do all the lights again as well, and then so forth. I don't go inside a trailer until I'm completely done with the physical inspection of the truck, because that requires the driver to come out of the truck and do some things. So that's when I wait for that. And then the right side is just opposite of the left side. You're just going back to the tractor on the physical walk around portion of it. And then when I get ready to go underneath, there's a few other things I have the driver do and so forth. Make sure his air pressure's back up, and I go underneath and check all the brakes. Then I come back out and have them step on the brakes. I go back and measure the push rod stroke, and I'm checking the drive line, drive shaft. And then when all that's done, we'll check the tractor protection valve, the trailer ABS warning light, then I'll do the in-cab lights, the lower pressure warning ABS. I'll check the windshield wipers from inside. I'll check the rear vision mirrors from inside as well. So all those things happen. And then when we're all done, said and done, I have the driver come out. I said, I need you to open the trailer. And he says, well, it's sealed load. I said, well, I have a replacement sealed. He said, but it's a sealed load. I have a replacement seal. You need to open the trailer. Okay, so he opens the trailer, and I have him latch the trailer open. I don't lock the trailer open. I have him latch the trailer open, and I have him stand at the foot of the trailer so I can always see it at the open door. And I remind the driver, and this is kind of an aggressive stance, but I remind the driver, I said, okay, my sidearm, I have 40 rounds available to me right now. Those rounds will go through that door. So if you start to close that door, I feel threatened, because if he closes and locks the door, I'm locked inside a trailer. He takes off. Now I'm stuck inside a trailer. So that is a life-threatening situation. So I tell him that I can legally shoot through that door if he starts to close the door on me while I'm inside the trailer. So, and then I do all the cargo securement in an enclosed trailer and everything. And that's a real quick step of a level 1 inspection, even though it takes 45 minutes I've been on a level 1 inspection for 3 hours, depending on what you find.
Yeah, the
Wow.
safety features. Yeah.
Wow.
And you're talking worst case scenarios out there, where you've asked me before, Steve, have you seen some of those? Yeah, some of those inspections don't, roadside's the worst because you're out there for a long time. It's one thing to be inside a terminal doing those inspections, but being 3 hours on the roadside because you have a very bad safety factor going on with the vehicle, it's time consuming. It's dangerous to be out there along the roadside as well. Rex can vouch for that.
Yes,
Wow.
I've dove under a trailer once or twice when someone seemed to appearing to not see me in the truck pulled over, even though I had lights on and stuff. I had one car basically hug the fog line. There was probably no more than 6 inches between the right side of that person and the left side of the truck. So I had to move underneath the trailer just to get the room so I wouldn't get hit. So yeah, it's
wow. Let's go back to that stop.
yes.
What if the driver said, I'm not going to open that up. I'm not opening up the trailer. I don't have to open that up.
Well, he has to, for one, because he has to give us access to the full trailer. It's based on statute and Fed regs, right? Because the driver is the company is the driver. So the Fed says they have to present their commercial vehicle for full inspection to authorized individuals. Okay. If he says he's not going to do that, then I will open the trailer, but I will place him right at the foot of the trailer. As I open the door, he stays at that trailer, because that way, if somebody's inside, I'm moving away as the door swings open, and he's there if somebody's in there, or if cargo may have shifted or whatever. So we advocate to our inspectors, we don't open the trailer, we don't open the hood, we don't touch anything. The driver does all that. That way, if it breaks, it's not back on the inspector broke it. Well, no, the driver's the one that handled it. The driver's the one that broke it. So, because that can get expensive for a state. If I've known inspectors to leave their creeper, because we use creepers. If we're on concrete, we'll use creepers to crawl underneath the truck to check the brakes and drive line and hoses and everything. Well, he left it against the front of the truck, and the driver didn't know that. He went to open the hood, and the driver opened the inspector said, "I've already released the right side." So the driver released the left side, and he picked up on the left side, and the creeper at the front of the truck just broke the plastic grill.
Ooh.
So the Kansas Highway Patrol had to replace a plastic grill on a truck tractor. So it was like,
Wow.
we don't leave the creepers there. We generally lay them against the saddle tank or the drive wheels on the left side. That way they're always visible where we're going to be at and the driver's going to be at. And we have to remove the chock blocks. That's where our creeper's at. So we leave them there. We don't leave them flat on the ground. Even when I teach inspectors that, I've known inspectors to leave it flat on the ground. They talk to the driver, they make a step, they step on their creeper and it becomes a skateboard, and they don't want that. So you always pick it up. So yeah,
We've all
the
done
drivers, the drivers are, they have to do things and stuff like that. I've had drivers refuse to do anything for the inspection. So they're not following official orders, so to speak. So that is a misdemeanor offense. They can be arrested. When I've had scale personnel come to do a weigh and the driver doesn't want to pull a truck up on the scales, then I start ordering a heavy wrecker. Well, heavy wreckers cost $500 just to show up, and that gets billed to the company. So there's ways to entice drivers to do what they're supposed to do. And throughout my career, as Matt knows, those that are in the safety side, we go to conferences and stuff, and we make contacts with several companies, and we know contacts. And so there's a couple times when I've had a driver from certain companies that were just totally non-cooperative. So I would call my contact, and then within like 15 minutes, that driver's yes sir, no sir, complying wholeheartedly, stuff like that. And a couple times drivers have been released from the company because that was their attitude towards us on the inspection was the straw that broke the camel's back, because they've had other issues throughout. So yeah, so that's kind of what happens in there. If you're nice to the driver, he's going to be nice to you for the most part. When I used to teach the recruits before they got too young, I would ask, who got more information from people, Andy Taylor or Barney Fife? And they would always say Andy Taylor. Why? Because he talked to people normally. He treated them like human beings.
Right.
So that's how I used to teach new inspectors as well. Then they got too young and I had no reference anymore because nobody knew who Andy Taylor. Then I knew it was time to retire.
When that it's taken place there, you pulled a driver over, there's some violations. Ultimately, who's at fault there? Is it a blend? Could it be a blend between the driver and the company? Is it usually the company's responsibility to make sure that those violations aren't there? How does that all work?
Well, since the driver is required to do a pre-trip and post-trip inspection, a large number of violations are driver responsibility issues. The ones that truly aren't are airlines that are up underneath the trailer where the driver's not required to look at during the pre-trip inspection. He can look, but if they're tuck up underneath an axle where a driver has no access during a proper pre-trip and post-trip, that's where it becomes company responsibility. But a large portion of them are driver responsibility issues, like cargo securement and stuff like that. If it's a sealed load and the driver wasn't afforded opportunity to look at the load before, that's a company issue because the company and the shipper have to work out to make sure they're doing things properly.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just in some states they have a civil assessment program to where the company can be civilly fined, but if it's a driver responsibility issue, the driver should be issued a citation. Some companies want the driver to be issued tickets because that's the only recourse the driver's going to have for a violation that he should have been aware of, you know. So, but there are companies that are doing safety programs that if a driver gets a violation, it comes out of his bonus pool, stuff like that, if it's his responsibility.
Wow.
So,
This has been an eye opener.
Yeah, this goes back, also, Stephen, we were talking about, where does that, we were talking about scores, the safety management system, the scoring. And, when the drivers are out there, does it go against the driver? Well, those inspections go against the company. So, Rex answered that perfectly, because, it's these drivers, sometimes it is their responsibility to make sure they're below everything's safe before they, start their trip, which can prevent the roadside inspections. So, there's a lot of good drivers out there. There's, then you got your bad ducks out there that, just want to drive and don't look at anything else. And that's where that reflection can come from, especially on the roadside of, how they're taking care of the truck. You can tell if it's the driver, or you can tell if it may be from maintenance, not seeing something, not doing something. And you can also tell, sometimes it is the company, but with what Rex said, most companies out there want to be safe, and they try hard. That's where we come in and making sure they're continuing that. But, so.
Yeah.
Insurance companies use the safety management system, CSA, a whole bunch on helping set premiums for the next cycle. So the lower your CSA score is, the better the premium, or the least amount of increase you're going to see, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Great talking with you both today. So interesting. I feel like I'm riding shotgun, if you will, with you, Rex. Do they still use that term? I don't know. Matt, how does a company engage you? If they want to connect with you, how do they find you?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways here. You can reach me off my website at dottrainingsolutions.com, or you can shoot me an email at matt@dottrainingsolutions.com, or at info@dottrainingsolutions.com as well. I'll give you my direct number. My direct number is 573-416-8203. Those are the four main ways to get a hold of me or anybody in my company. Welcome anybody looking for safety and training and compliance to give us a call.
Yep. And if anybody has a question for Rex, I'm sure they could reach out to you and connect with him.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
100%.
Great having you both on. So interesting how this whole process works, and so important with millions of vehicles and many more drivers on the road. Appreciate you both for being here today.
All right. Hey, thanks, Steve, for having us.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.